Welcome to the Lenovo Legion booth here at PAX Australia. We also have PC Game Pass here as well. I'm Amy, Sass Queen Amy, one of your Lenovo Legion e-apprentices. I am joined by Aron Aztek, another e-apprentice, and of course by one of our incredible mentors, Steph Hex Bendixson. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is just going to be a Q&A chat to find out just some bits and pieces about the industry, find out some of your tips and tricks, and just stuff like that. So Steph, what would you say are some of your best tips for someone looking to get into the industry?
That's tough. I feel like it really depends on which area of the industry you want to go into. And I think there's a lot of different avenues for people that they don't really consider, because a lot of people, like when I first started, I thought getting into gaming was just programming. But if you're an artist, you can get involved in game design, from an art perspective. If you're a musician or a composer, you can get involved in game music. If you're a writer, you can write stories for games. Or if you just really love playing games and you feel like you'd be really good at sharing that passion, then yeah, you can get into content creation, which I think is something that's a lot more accessible to people now than it ever has been before. And really, that just comes from putting yourself out there and, I suppose, just allowing people into your world a little bit, which can be scary at first. It was definitely scary for me. There was kind of a big wall between me and the audience when I was working in television, and that wall really had to come down when I started streaming and talking to people live and being okay with myself as a person as opposed to a presenter. But I think ultimately it's really positive because people get to see the real you. So I guess, yeah, my advice is kind of like narrow your focus and figure out which area of the industry excites you, and then I guess let your passion speak for itself. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really, really awesome insight.
Steph, I actually have a question for you. Coming from, traditional media and then transitioning into basically an online presence now, how do you feel that transition has kind of like been for you? Was it a weird experience? Like, was it were you a bit unsure of how it was, or were you kind of open to it and just kind of went with it and like just kind of talk us through it?
Yeah, it was tough. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was not prepared because I had kind of been okay with television presenting with the idea that I'm in a small room with a small group of people, and if I make a mistake, I can just do as many takes as I need to get it right. And being live is really different. And interacting with a community live and having an open dialogue with people is really different. I guess coming up with the words that you want to say in your head in the moment and articulating it well is really hard if you're not used to it, if you're not someone who's really comfortable speaking off the cuff. So all of that stuff was really difficult. On top of that, in traditional media, my job was to present and write and review games, which was already like more than most presenters are doing in terms of like a role. But there was a camera person and an editor and someone who did lighting and a makeup artist and a producer, like all of these people who are experts in their field. When you do content creation, you have to be good at all of that stuff yourself. So it's been a slow learning process, I would say. Like, I'm not like a super quick learner, so I've been muddling my way through YouTube tutorials, and every year I feel like I feel really proud of the content that I put out, and I look at the stuff from the year before and I'm like, oh no. Feels like awful to go back, but it's all part of the journey, and it's nice for people to see your evolution and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was hard, but challenging in a good way.
No, that's really awesome. What is then your favorite part of creating content nowadays with that community-focused aspect? What do you love about that?
I think the community is the big word there. We have a really great show called Back Pocket, which has a big following that is made up of many people who followed us from Good Game, from TV days. But I guess it's the freedom of creativity, I suppose, with it, which is really fun, because a lot of the time, even with content creation, a lot of people are chasing trends, or they're playing the game that is popular, or they're just trying to grow their presence, and that may not be the most it can be quite limiting in a way. But I think when you're allowed to just be really free and open with the stuff that you want to make and just try out new ideas, and people really enjoy that stuff, that's when it really feels like you're doing something that's like worthwhile. And and I guess true to who you are, because I think a lot of the time the best ideas I have are the ones that are just ones that I come up with in the moment that feel like someone will get a laugh out of it, or feels like visually interesting to people and they'll recognize something in there that inspires them or whatever. And if I'm trying too hard, usually it's awful. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? It's like, if I'm trying to be something that I see other people doing successfully, then I feel like that's when it starts to just get awkward and weird.
One last question is, we've been through COVID, we've been through so much, and getting to be at PAX and bringing gamers together again, what does that mean to you?
It's like, it's huge. Like, especially because we started Back Pocket during lockdown. So we kind of created this show and developed a community, many of whom then became the core group of online gaming friends that I have now. You know, before that I didn't really know how to forge those friendships, if that makes sense. And that community really just kind of opened the doors for me to meet a whole bunch of really like-minded people that are now among some of my closest friends, who I, you know, talk to almost every night when we're gaming and stuff. So some of those people I've never met, you know, and to be able to like see them in person, and it was kind of emotional, I think. So it's been really amazing, and I think just the general energy here is huge because people have been just desperate to come back. So yeah, it's awesome.
No, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you in person. One of the absolutely incredible ePrentice mentors. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful experience at PAX, everyone. And that's it from us.